Hi, in this brief podcast, I just want to make a point that is really important. The borders of Texas that are so familiar to us today. Think about how often you see the shape of Texas in your daily life. You see it on your car, and the stickers, the registration, or those kinds of stickers. I'm not sure it's registration, but we see Texas everywhere. It's really imprinted on our minds. It's a fantastic state, such a handsome shape. I love the shape of Texas. But the point I'm making is that the Spanish didn't see Texas the way we see Texas, and the Spanish had a very, very different borders for Texas, had different borders for Texas than we have. So I'm going to post this map I'm showing you. I'm going to post it on a link, but I want to point out that from the Spanish point of view, the border of Texas was the Nueces River. The borders of Spanish Texas was the Nueces River, not the Rio Grande. Okay. This is really important for Texas history later on. So we tend to think the Rio Grande was always the border of Texas. In the Spanish period and in the Mexican period, it was not. It was the Nueces. The Rio Grande only becomes the southern border of Texas in 1848. So from the Spanish point of view, Texas was this kind of odd looking, odd shaped region that now we would call kind of central Texas and northeast Texas. So West Texas, the Big Bend area, Del Rio, where I was this weekend, Northwest Texas, the Spanish didn't see this as part of Texas. This was part of the Mexican provinces of Coahuila and Chihuahua. When the Spanish saw Texas, they saw this green area that you can see on the screen, and I'll post on Blackboard. And the eastern border of Texas was kind of this area between what's now Louisiana and Texas. And the border between Louisiana and Texas isn't firmly established until 1819. Don't worry about that. You're not going to be tested on that now. The big point I want to make here in this very brief podcast is the Spanish and the Mexicans see Texas geographically very differently than we do today. The borders of Texas were quite different. The southern border was the Nueces, which goes through Corpus Christi. Vast portions of what we consider Texas today, the Spanish saw as other provinces, especially Coahuila and Chihuahua, and they didn't consider the areas of what today are West and North Texas as part of Texas at all, the Spanish and the Mexicans. The map of Texas that we have today, the borders, as I think I said earlier, but I'm a big believer in repetition, date back to 1848. So in your mind, when you think of Spanish and Mexican Texas, don't think of the beautiful state that exists today, but think of this kind of maybe less spectacular area in green here. This is when the Spanish and the Mexicans looked up from Mexico City. This is what they considered Texas.